Hey guys, welcome back to my Lethal Company Let's Play. Today we're going to be visiting the moon Titan and collecting scrap for the company. If you didn't come from my previous video, Murder Drones is an animated series on YouTube consisting of 8 episodes produced by the channel Glitch Productions. It goes over the story of a teenage worker drone named Uzi and the murder drones N, V, and J. And since I personally remember almost nothing that I said in that previous video since it's almost a year old, if you just came from there and hear any repeated points, pretend like it is your first time hearing those points and react to them accordingly in the comment section. I just finished watching the last 3 episodes lately and I just gotta say, man am I glad I procrastinated my last video so hard I gave up on it. Wait, this show's pretty damn good. And most impressively, it avoided becoming a Studio Trigger anime despite taking the scale into space in the last 2 episodes. Surprisingly, no aliens. Just man-made horrors beyond my comprehension. Refreshing. At its heart, the story of Murder Drones is that of an eldritch or Lovecraftian horror. The idea of the Absolute Solver is something on a scale completely different from what we're used to, and that makes it all the more fascinating. I mean, the fact that it takes over a whole planet near the end reminds me of that one indie horror game where you go around photographing planets. It gives the Solver this air of hopelessness around it. Or, well, it would've if Uzi's powers didn't also jump up to planetary levels in the last 2 episodes. And here comes the criticism section that's gonna get me murdered. When you give your main character a goddamn boss team, you're turning any sort of horror into a power fantasy. Doesn't make the fight any less peak. I'm not saying that a power spike felt unearned or undeserved because she very much has gone through enough shit throughout the course of the show to get a boost of some kind, but the struggle just wasn't felt enough. I'll explain what I mean in a second, but it just made all that buildup with Sin and the Solver feel kind of pointless. She doesn't really struggle all that much to defeat it when it came to actually fighting. And while the fight scene against Sin was really cool, I don't think a single one of us were afraid of Uzi losing. Like, why bother scaling the power of your Eldritch Horror up to planetary when you're gonna do the same for your main character in the episode after it? You've just taken the horror part of being up against a planetary level being and thrown it straight out the window. And this is a part of my main complaint of the show, which is its lack of atmosphere. Like, it's unsure as if it wants you to take it seriously or laugh along with the jokes. And I think that's been my main issue with glitches and honestly a lot of indie stuff in general. These last few episodes of Murder Drones do have some of the most egregious examples of this. Like nearing the end of episode 7 where Uzi's taken over by the Solver and is about to kill both N and her own mother, and it gets resolved by N telling Nori that he and her daughter hang out and Nori understandably crashing out and wakes Uzi up. Seriously? That's how we get the Solver out of her? It doesn't even try to come back, it just goes, and Uzi gets her power spike. It was such a great opportunity for character development and genuine conflict and sacrifice. But instead we just rushed right past it with 0 consequences. There's also the issue of Sin doing an Ennard and taking over Tessa, which, to be honest, you could have told me it was a split-second decision halfway through making episode 7 and I would have believed you. Because Tessa might have been suspicious, but it wasn't suspicious in a she's being used as a flesh costume way. Even after finishing the show, I still don't know if she's been Sin the whole time or if Sin just popped into her body after N killed her. I'm leaning more towards the former, but again, you could tell me either one and I'd believe you because it's not like she acts not like Tessa while she's Tessa, or even like mimic her voice to fuck with N after the reveal or something. Like, we understand the conflict happened, struggle happened, development happened, but we feel almost none of it. It's something where we'd look at what's going on the screen and kind of understand as if it's been handed to us, but there wasn't a journey that we also had to go on alongside the characters to reach that conclusion. It's like watching a race. You're sitting in the stands and every time your participant runs past, you can see the strain on his face, in his movements. You hear it through his footsteps or breathing if you're close enough, but you don't feel the strain. You don't feel that burning in his lungs, the tenseness in his muscles, the sweat dripping down his face. You can see all of it and you can understand what's going on, but you don't feel any of it. It's similar to being told and not shown, just in the realm of being shown. And I feel like this happens because it seems like the show's trying to be a comedic parody of something, but at the same time it's trying to properly tell a deep, detailed story. I'm not saying it can't be done, and honestly, Glitch was not that far off the target when it came to Murder Drones. But at the end of the day, them trying to balance all these elements in the 8 episodes of time they gave themselves led to a rushed feeling story with pretty good characters, but no real atmosphere because every time they've had an opportunity to let the audience sit and marinate on something, they cut the process short and jump to the next conflict. The result of this was a show where the dramatic parts weren't really dramatic and the comedic parts ended up falling flatter than they should have, like a post-Phase 4 Marvel movie. The true advantage of a story told in the film format, whether that be animated or live action, is its control over time. When it comes to reading a book, a comic, or even playing a video game, the one who consumes the media controls how fast that consumption is done. People can read fast or slow, immerse themselves, or speedrun. The control is mostly in the hands of the audience, but when it comes to TV, it's purely in the hands of the directors. It will take the same exact amount of time for anyone to watch the same show. Some may pause or spread episodes out throughout different days, but at the end of the day, the amount of time they spend watching will be the exact same. Unless you're one of those psychopaths that watch films and TV shows in 2x speed. Seriously, stop doing that. Read a book. Because of this, shows have the ability to really control the tempo and atmosphere of a story better than almost any other medium, beaten only by really well-made video games. Whether or not a show is able to take advantage of this is what sets it apart from your average mass-produced isekai anime or other media of such quality. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying Murder Drones is trash, I'm not even saying it's bad, necessarily. I'm just saying it's trying a little too hard to do a little too much with a little too little time. Imagine if Murder Drones had a few more episodes, dedicating more time to hinting at Sin as Tessa, setting up Uzi and En's relationship, and most importantly, properly exploring that plot point of Uzi being taken over by the Solver and just really setting up that planetary level Solver horror in general. I also would have really loved to see the show's ending not be as happily ever after as it ended up being, with the only casualty being Doll and even that being played for laughs multiple times. Hell, even the Solver survives in Uzi's tail. And I do understand that not every story has to be a tragic one filled with sacrifice and pain. It's pretty clear Glitch wanted Murder Drones to have that lighthearted but serious early MCU tone to them, while they explore the horrors they've crafted, and I respect it. I love a good laugh in the face of imminent doom. But that laugh has to not take away from that feeling of imminent doom. Love him or hate him, that's what made the earlier Marvel films so interesting to so many people. It was funny, but it never let you forget just how scary the situation was. This is where Murder Drone's lack of runtime fails it, and gives us more of a comedy rather than a mystery horror. All that being said, I do want to state that Murder Drones is probably my favorite indie animation project to date. The animation was smooth, the characters were cute and distinct, and most importantly, the action felt badass. It combined all the elements of mystery, sci-fi, power fantasy, and horror that I love so much into one show, and there wasn't a single moment where I felt bored. My immersion may have been broken from time to time by a poster that was a little too silly or a bit of physics that just didn't make sense, but at the end of the day, it still had me hooked from one episode to the next. I would even switch to my phone to watch while I ate. In terms of entertainment, Glitch produced a truly entertaining show that has you trying to figure out what's going on in every episode as they play out, which is the best way to treat your audience. I like the series a lot despite all of its flaws, and honestly, I suggest anyone who hasn't watched it yet go watch it. Just, forget literally everything that I said in this video when you do so. I kind of did just spoil the entirety of the story. Anyway, that's it for me for what I wanted to say about Murder Drones. My name is Sue, and I'll see you guys in my follow-up review for The Amazing Digital Circus. If the Murder Drones fans don't kill me first.
I won't fall down.